time I was supposed to be here. On this 27th day of March, in the year of our Lord, 2019. And all is well. God save the Queen.
Thank you, sir.
And God bless, I get the right number, 18th and International Conference of National Trusts here in Bermuda. Ladies and gentlemen, I've also been instructed to inform you all that this is the 4th regional conference. However, they incorrectly told me it was the 4th regional conference of the Caribbean. It is not, ladies and gentlemen. It is only the 3rd in the regional conferences of Caribbean countries, because we are not, repeat, not in the Caribbean.
And now it is my distinct pleasure to invite Marquetta Goodwine, author and environmental advocate, also known as Queen Quet, after being elected chiefess and head of state for the Gullah Geechee Nation. And Queen Quet will be giving our first keynote address of the conference on the topic of opening your arms.
Don't you get weary, work together till I. Don't you get weary, work together till I. Don't you get weary, great have meeting in the promised land. So great together till I. Don't you get weary, great together till I. Don't you get weary, great together till I. Don't you get weary, great have meeting in the promised land. Which I walk and never get tired. Walk and never get tired. Walk and never get tired. Great have meeting in the promised land. So work together till I. Don't you get weary, work together till I. Don't you get weary, work together till I. Don't you get weary, great time meeting in the promised land. We try and work and never get tired. Work and never get tired. Work and never get tired. Great camp meeting in the promised land. So work together till I. Work together till I. Don't you get weary. Work together till I. Don't you get weary. Great camp meeting in the promised land. Great camp meeting in the promised land. Great camp meeting in the promised land. Well, morning. How are the children do today?
Great.
Well, I ain't know what that. I ain't know what that business now. Where they did from Luda said, "Great God, that children trifling, ain't it? What kind of thing is this? Y'all supposed to crack your teeth better than that." And see, a lot of us, if I did home in the Sea Islands, just cross the way from you, you can get to Wilmington, North Kakalaki. And then you did most of what we did. The Gullah Geechee Nation start Jacksonville, North Kakalaki, and going all the way down Jacksonville, Florida. So we did in the ocean too, and things like that, just on the other side. And so when we get together and things like that, and everybody join in. And no such a thing say, I don't work and Hunter to look at me. If I don't work, Hunter to work. Because whatever we do is for everybody joining together. So when I first get him about coming over here and things like that, long time ago I said, I'm going to get you to Bermuda. But every time I say, okay, God must have want me to go another time. Then every time again. Then finally I get this your email from this young man said in the Oliver. And here I say, you want to come to Bermuda? I said, sure. So they say, okay, look, y'all, come on over, because the trust won't be there. Now, any place where trust at, I don't want to be there. You know? Because in the world now, it's hard for gain trust. So, plenty of time, we can't get on things like that, because when we crack, we teach the people now stand tall. So how we want to trust on that when we crack, we teach so. So it's a little difficult to gain trust when you're not even speaking the same language, right? Because you don't know what's going on. And so it was so wonderful to hear that there was something that I could get into. All right? And so to be here is definitely an honor, and it's a journey. And it was so interesting to me as I got ready to pack and started putting things together to come. I kept saying to myself, wow, wonder what the Spirit will lead me to do when I get there. Then I get an email saying, oh, Queen Quet will lead song and talk. I said, oh, I didn't know they were listing it. Right? They said, isn't that part of the protocol? I said, well, not officially, but I tend to be led of the Spirit, and yes, I usually sing. So as I was walking through my living room, I suddenly kept hearing this theme, arms wide open. But then the words did what they usually do when my people take the English words and put them into the Gullah language and then created our dialect, which is called Geechee. The words move around. Like when people who speak Spanish look at English, the words have to move around to make sense in their language. So it didn't come to me as arms wide open. It came to me as open arms. And so I said to Kwame, I said, well, that's interesting. Because more often than not, with a lot of the national trusts that I've engaged with, they don't tend to have their arms open. Folks tend to be like this. Because they're coming around inspecting whether that property has historical integrity or not. And they're determining by the rules and regulations that they function under in their particular country and the auspices of their organizations, whether or not this can be listed or not. Right? So the community members are like this. Like, what do they mean that this kid? We've already told these people this place has been here 150 years. How dare them come in here for 15 minutes and tell us that it shouldn't be listed as historic, that it isn't valuable enough to preserve. How dare they? And meanwhile, you have one this way and one this way, but nobody's doing this. Right? So I said, interesting. I'm walking through the living room, and suddenly I started hearing, here I come to you with open arms, and it stops. And I said, wait a minute, 80s, 90s, rock music, pop music, who sang this song, right? I thought I'd go to Kwame, who's a DJ, sing the song, and he'd instantly do what he usually does and say the tune, but he didn't. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. I have never heard that song in my life. I said, that's the hook. That's the chorus. What do you mean? It's very famous. He said, not to me. I never heard it. I said, go to YouTube. Right? You go to YouTube, and there it is. Why I was supposed to wait to take this journey. The group Journey sang that song. I see some of you nodding. That's where you had a few dates for that song. I see smiles, nods. You're like, yeah, keep going, Queen. I remember that one. But I said, I can't sing that song. That song is rather sad. It's a breakup song. Oh, my goodness. When you look at all the lyrics. But then I said, that's what we're trying to prevent, is a breakup between those of us who work wanting to preserve and wanting to conserve things, and the others who say, but you're not doing the ones that we find significant enough, because you're telling us that that's not the way to do it. So I said, we have to build trust. And the easiest way that people throughout the world usually build trust is with their arms open. If you come towards someone like this, they feel you're not coming in battle. If you come like this, they have to get on the defense because they don't know what you're hiding. If you come this way, we pretty much all know what's going on. Especially, right, ladies? Mm-hmm. Yes. So, having our arms open is critical to the work that all of us engage in. And so I tossed and I turned and I tossed and I turned because there's something about words and I. And I always find acronyms in words. And so as I looked at this word last night, arms, I said, I know there's an acronym there. And I heard all kinds of things moving around in my mind after midnight when I was trying to sleep. And then woke me up again maybe around 2. And I'm like, you're not the ones either. Go away. All right? I need the right words. And all of a sudden when they came, I rested. Advancing resources, motivating sustainability. Advancing resources, motivating sustainability. Because for me, I don't like to deal with the word preservation as it relates to cultural heritage. I come from a living community in the Gullah Geechee Nation, as I mentioned, from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida, on what are called the Sea Islands, and 30 to 35 miles inland, and what people often write down and call the Low Country, because we are technically below sea level. But more often than not, when people come to where we are, they let me the crack, we just saw it, thing like that, and they say, oh no, what is that? They're not familiar with our language, and then because they can't communicate with us, they don't communicate with us, they don't even try. If they did, they learned we could talk like this too. And a few might say, how's it going to all right? Or someone might even ask you how to say. But they never ask. They only come in based on research that they've done, maybe in a library, maybe something that they read about when they were children, a map they found, and they want to now be the pirates that discover the treasure that's located in this place. Especially, there's someone else here from a St. Helena. Who is that? I'm from St. Helena. You? Yes. I too am from St. Helena. And your St. Helena and my St. Helena often get confused because they're all looking for where Napoleon. Right? And so, in our jobs, we have to often correct the narrative. But sometimes we recreate a narrative that the people who are the descendants from that place don't even recognize. And then we lose the trust we were supposed to be building. And now, when they were like this, they become like you, like this. Or they come like this. Okay? Because they're saying, where did you get that story? That's not what we know to be the truth. As we say, we don't been here, ain't never I know we told. So they come here to cut in and they no, we do. So you have to speak to those who live that legacy, live that culture, and know what the resources that they have and the resources that they are, so that they can be a part of the movement that you are working on. So that they too, when you leave and go back to your respective offices or these conferences that you all are having in such exotic places throughout the world, that they are still left motivated to sustain the work of keeping these places so valuable and so treasured by us that our mayors can say, come, walk our streets. And walk in those same places and spaces that people have walked for over 400 years. And look at the stories you might find. Like in this building, almost right below where I'm standing, are the words of my home, Wilmington and Charleston, on the wall, right below me. Before I got to step in the building, I was told that we were going to go where no man or woman had gone before. He asked me, Queen, are you familiar with Enterprise? I said, do you mean Star Trek? And he said, no ma'am, I mean the ship that brought enslaved people here, but not from Africa, but from your sea islands. We have to talk. I said, and we have to share. Because I knew I'd always been drawn to wanting to get to Bermuda for a reason, to walk, not just the streets, but along the shore. I knew there was an energy that pulled me here that couldn't be Googled. You can Google all day and put in Gullah, Geechee, Bermuda, nothing. Sea Islands, Bermuda, nothing. You put in something else in Civil War, then we might talk about gun running. We don't talk about goslings that was in the ships as well, but we talk about cotton that you all call white gold, where the cargo that looked like me was called black gold. And here it is, all this was being exchanged back and forth across this body of water. Before there was an internet, before there was social media, before we had phones, much less cell phones, we were more connected, it seemed. Because we did as the water does. We flowed together. Water finds its own level. And it can move. And that's what we need to learn to do, is be able to flow and to move and keep our arms open so that the resources we have, whether they are environmental or natural resources, human resources, built environmental resources, as we would say even in the world of all of this, the tangible and the intangible resources, that these are all collectively a part of our journey when we start talking about preservation, which is more off the term that you use, instead of the term I prefer, continuation. Because when we talk about cultural heritage and legacies and stories, we need those things to be continued. Because my mother and I do preservation of food. We jar food. And that jar sits on the shelf. It looks very pretty there until you're ready to devour it. Once you open it up and you let air in, if you let it sit, it's going to spoil. So you don't let it sit. You pour it in a pot and you heat it up and you devour it. But now it's gone. You can rinse the jar out. It's empty. So when we talk about cultural communities, we cannot preserve them. We need to continue them because we don't want to destroy them and then nothing's there. So there is no story, there is no narrative. We act as if, I heard the word untold stories are not told enough. Some are never told because someone doesn't value the oral tradition. Someone else only values the written. And they'll say, well, so what? You all say that happened for 400 years, but where is it written? It's written here, in the hearts of the people whose ancestors passed it down. And as we would say in the church, thought it not robbery for their children's children's children to know their story, their legacy, and what they contributed to a particular place and space in the world. So we have to take this from the hearts to the minds and get into shifting the narrative of how we do the work that all of us do together so that there'll be more trust in the world amongst us. And we can now motivate others to using what their knowledge bases are to sustain these things that we're fighting so hard for in the face of climate change, in the face of just natural degradation, in the face of moral degradation in the world. We need to change the way we look at things. But again, if we don't speak the same language, maybe that's the problem. So I decided to go look in a English-based dictionary to find out what do you all mean when you use the word preserve. It said a sphere of activity regarded as being reserved. So I said, well, that's so true because usually this sphere of activity that is done by the National Trust is considered reserved for specialists who have degrees and other things in this field. So I said, that's interesting. That fits. That's why they love the word so much. It fits with what they do. But then it says, to maintain something in its original state or existing state. I said, that's why they don't want you to show them a building where your grandparents added on, as we call it, adding on, building up and bricking up, or other terms for it. Meaning that at first you had a one-bedroom home, but as you advanced in life, you had more children, you added bedrooms for them. You might have opened out the living room, so you built it on. So sure, the original house looks like wood and all the other edges look like brick. But it's one house to us. What do you mean that there's no historic integrity there? There's integrity because it was a family protecting each other for generations. Why is it that when multimillionaires add on, because it's all made of the same stone now, because it all comes from the same brick, we don't say that those mansions are not valuable for us to preserve. We trust that they are. And we say that whatever president, whatever man or woman of industry, whatever titan lived there, had a valuable enough story that the world ought to see it. And people visit by the millions and they make millions of dollars from it. And where do we see the little things on the side of the wall that say National Trust? This is a National Trust building. We promote those places. So why not promote a Gullah Geechee home that has that value just because the center might be wood and the edges might be brick? The wings, as we would call it if it were a mansion. Right? So we have to just shift our perspective, because then you say, well, maintain it in the original state, which would have meant just the wooden house. So a lot of times they rip off the brick, and now they'll say, well, now we have the house back to its original state. But what about the existing state? The existing state is what is the story and the narrative you can tell from every piece that was added. Every generation had another part of that family's legacy to tell. And if we tear it away now, someone in 50 or 100 years wouldn't value what that son or daughter that grew up in that extra bedroom did. And they might have accomplished even more than the original builder of the building. So you have to consider that. Then I said, whatever the definitions they have, you see I love words. So I dove in a little bit more, and they said, to keep safe from harm or injury. I said, well, people don't consider that with cultural heritage, do they? Because communities are harmed and feel injured when they're told that something they value is not valuable enough to meet all the boxes that we check off as we register these places as being places of value. So they are hurt, they are injured, and they can't get into what we're into. If they are, who would? You wouldn't. So then it says, allow for evolution and expansion. I said, oh, they never taught them that definition. That part is missing. Allow for that evolution and expansion to happen, and know that no culture is static. So no story of a group of people and a legacy of a place should be static either. Today, we've made history, and ladies, her story, because it is Women's Her Story Month. Because I don't know in your third, fourth conferences that have been held here that you ever had a native Gullah Geechee come over and enter this enterprise this time. When Enterprise landed here before, I understand it got shipwrecked. A storm brought it in. A storm brought me in yesterday. The winds and the rain and everything. And I prayed that the sun is coming out. It's going to shine. It's going to warm up. These people cannot be serious that they're not warmer than where I live at this time of year. These folks ain't praying right is what I would have said. We got to do this right. So God worked with me as I tossed and turned through the night, and it got warmer and warmer in the room. And when I stepped out this morning, all bundled in my coat, the Spirit said you won't need it. You won't need it. You'll be able to open your arms in the sun and have other people join you in doing that. So, I came to you with open arms from our sea islands to have a Bermuda day here as we all get into this together. And I know the conference organizers are about to have a stroke when I ask you to do this. But if any of you are also willing to open your arms and form a circle of connection around this room that will recognize that our journey is that we're now connected around the world to actually making sure that we are allies in taking these resources out so that we can motivate others to sustain the places and the things that we so love. You'll join in the circle together. Isn't this wonderful? We can stretch out and make one broad, wide circle. Y'all coming a little closer to me. Yeah. Look at the beauty of this. This is truly beautiful, right? This is beautiful. Because I felt like I was right at home when they give you the instructions that I give at home. That when someone says to you good morning, you say good morning. If they say good afternoon, you say good afternoon. If they say good evening, you say good evening. If they look older than you, you say good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sir. Now I know some of y'all get offended because they're like, I'm not older. But they're just being respectful. And so I appreciate that we respect one another so much and respect each cultural community that's represented from around the world, that we have all stood together now. We're all one circle. That you notice we couldn't have joined if we'd kept our arms like that. Right? We had to open our arms, and I pray that we'll raise them together to show the strength that we have, that we're all going to keep getting into this, and we are going to change the narrative of the world to say that every place has cultural heritage that's valuable in those built places as well as the natural resources that we all have. So I come to you with open arms, with love, peace, and understanding. Wisdom is the principal thing, but in all thy getting, get understanding. Thank you, N2, for helping us understand the journey that you do. Peace and blessings.
Thank you, and I'm not going to see mine. That was great. Thank you. Well done.